立花ひなたさん。
負け犬フリーター竹道の元恋人が殺された。そんな彼がある日。
何やってんだよ竹道。
Hey everyone, Rascal here.
And Mama, welcome to our channel, Paws On Animation.
And today we're covering the live-action Tokyo Revengers movie. Yes, there's live-action movie.
Okay, guys, you know the drill. A popular anime gets a big live-action movie adaptation, and to no one's surprise, it stinks. But
before we start, be sure to like, subscribe, and notification buttons for future podcasts and World of Paws videos.
Thank you so much for joining us, subscribing, sharing our videos, commenting, helping us on our goal to reach over 2,000 subscribers this year. As always, you are our special. Okay, so Rascal is the one who wanted to watch this.
Yes.
I watched 5 minutes and turned it off. And she's like, please, let's go back. It's got to be funny. And she was right. It is. And this movie got a whole lot of help for being released during that time period of the pandemic. Mm-hmm. Because it was announced in February 2020 that it was going to begin filming, and then it was halted in April of 2020. So
right.
The movie itself didn't release until July of 2021. And because so many people were ecstatic to get back to the movie theater to see movies, mm-hmm. it helped a lot of films that normally would not have been successful
yes.
or box office hits be successful box office hits.
Right. And it worked out so well for them that they went ahead and made this into a trilogy and already announced we're doing 2 more movies to 2-part Bloody Halloween adaptation. Because this movie clearly did not want to adapt that storyline.
No. So, quickly for those of you not familiar with Tokyo Revengers, it's based on the manga written and illustrated by Ken Wakari, and it ran originally from March of 2017 to November of 2022 with 31 volumes. In America, we're still getting to the end of the manga.
Yes.
They haven't released the last 2 volumes of the omnibus yet, and we're waiting for that, but you can go online and read the end of it.
Yes.
And it follows Takemichi Hanagaki, who's a 26-year-old part-timer whose life is just, he's considered a loser and he's done nothing with his life. And then he sees a news report showing that his ex-girlfriend was killed. She and her brother. And then he is like, well, what's going on in my life? And he hasn't had a girlfriend since her when he was in high school in 16. So it's 10 years. And so he goes to take a train, and then he's pushed off of the elevation. And he ends up back in the time period he was in school, 16 years old.
Right.
And the anime did a great job of translating this season 1. Season 1 was fantastic. And the manga is a great read. And that's where the magic ends.
Yes. Because this movie adapts only a third of season 1. If you want to go by the anime standards to help traject where this starts and ends. It starts, of course, where the manga and anime start with Takemichi and how he got thrown into having the time travel powers. And the story stops like midway through season 1, like after they have their big showdown with one of these rival gangs in a parking lot. That's where the movie ends, and they change the ending of the story to make it look like this is the end of the story, and it isn't. So I don't think they were planning on adapting any more of this. They were going to do half of season 1 and be done. But it did so well they decided to go back and do a 2-part movie for the rest of the season.
So, as we mentioned, this movie released in July of 2021 in Japan. A running time of 120 minutes. Now, we have seen it on
Crunchyroll.
Thank you. Crunchyroll. I don't think it was ever in theaters here. I didn't find that information. And we'll go over the Japanese cast before we finish the podcast. As you mentioned, there's a sequel titled Tokyo Revengers 2, Bloody Halloween.
Sound like a horror movie.
And that one premiered in April of 2023, the first part. And the second part premiered in June of 2023.
Yes.
And looks like there's going to be a fourth one.
Oh no, there's more. It never ends.
So let's tell them all the things that were right with this movie, and then we can go with all the terribly wrong things.
Right. Let's see, what did they get right again? Names?
The name of the movie, Tokyo Revengers.
And the names of the characters.
Yes,
It still
that
takes
was right.
It
that
still
was
takes
right.
place in Tokyo.
And the music wasn't bad.
Yes, it's pretty accurate to the show.
And the cinematography is good.
Yes.
It's good.
Yes, they use some CGI in there too, but
Yeah.
yes.
And let's see.
That's it. That's it.
What was
Yeah.
funny is
Yeah.
it was Disney-fied in the sense that people were online saying, "Oh, this is a great adaptation. It's so accurate and it's so wonderful." And it's wonderful if you like seeing people being beaten senseless and bloody, and all you want to see is a fight.
Oh my
And
gosh.
if you've actually read the manga or seen seasons 1, 2, or 3 of the anime, you see that that's not all to it. There's humor and fun and backstory and
And they talk.
explanations and likable characters and favorite characters. And for the anime itself, a fantastic voice acting cast. And unfortunately, this live action movie didn't translate any of that.
Right. And biggest thing of all, when you watch it, is you're not supposed to be laughing all the time at these people, but everything's so awkward in this movie that you can't help but be in a laugh riot at everything they do. Especially when you see the castings of the characters. The brother that he shakes hands with to time travel, he went from being a kindergarten or preschool or something, and then now he's like on his way to college by the time he gets
That's like why he's so old. That's why he helped him, because he was a little kid that was being bullied, and
Now he
he
was
was
a
no
war-
one was Naoto.
Yeah.
Until later when he said something about his sister Hina, he says, "Oh my
Oh.
gosh, you're Hina's brother.
Yeah,
Why
and-
didn't you tell me? I would have helped you."
And-
but in here,
Oh yeah, instead of helping him because, you know, he's a little kid, he's helping because he's being picked on by bullies, period. And instead of scaring off the bullies, he accidentally hits himself in the back of the head, knocks himself unconscious, and they laughed so hard at him they left. And I was like, what the heck did you do?
and I think that was one of the worst parts of this movie.
Takamichi's pathetic in here.
They made Takamichi a laughing stock, inept, stupid, a loser at 16, not at 26 when he tries to reclaim
Right.
his life. And they kept doing it to him over
and over and over.
And one of the worst parts is, you know, in the manga and the anime, they're known for riding motorcycles. And they decided to give Mikey a freaking bike. A 10-speed bike. Instead to ride. And then they have Takamichi on the back of the bike, riding it with him.
And it's like,
And we
we're
were just
so
like,
bad.
"Oh my God, this is terrible. We thought this was a good
And
idea."
then Takamichi fell off the bike. He just kept getting one.
It's terrible.
and then you get to seeing Mikey and Draken, and this was the best part for me because they generally had one good humorous in there that was intentionally funny and was funny. When they have a Takamichi's fighting the guy that wants to just beat him into submission and go too far, they introduce Draken and Mikey for the movie. And when one of them asked, who did this? And all of them pointed to the culprit, and they had a sound effect. When he tried to point to somebody, his sound effect wasn't working. He's like, come on! And that was generally funny.
Yes.
Then it leads into Draken coming in, and Mom said, what is that? That's not
That's
Draken.
Hyomasa that happened to
Hyomasa,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, Draken. And he's, that's not Draken. What's wrong with this hair? It's accurate. No, it's not. How do you get this hair wrong?
And what was really funny is right before we watched this movie, there was a fan on YouTube who colored his own hair. He bleached his own hair. And he took a mirror and cut his hair and styled it exactly like Draken. We're like, this guy can get it 100% right. but you're a multi-million-dollar studio.
Warner Brothers.
And you can't even get that aspect right.
Right. And then Mikey came in, and this is why it took us so long to finish, because we had to go back much later. She saw Mikey come in and say, "Who is that?" And he was like, "Oh, that's Mikey. Turn it off." Turn it off. Turn it off. And he came in eating what looked like a burger.
Yes.
And he was sloppy. And he just looked like he was out of
How did they managed to make every character that was
Wrong.
likable unlikable, and every character that was cool uncool, and every character that was badass despicable. It was like, what were you trying to achieve with this movie? Now, if you happen to be one of those people that loved it,
They don't care.
like with Goku, good for you. But to us, this was just complete and total train wreck.
And the
Like so many of the live action adaptations you've seen, the characters, if they were tall, they were cast short. If they were short, they were cast tall. I will say that the majority of them did dye their hair.
yes.
That's another thing I'll give
No
them credit.
wigs. They actually dyed their hair, which is just something you rarely see.
Yes, very true.
And the part that ended up unfortunately not being funny towards the end was that it seemed like whoever made this kind of cut down, as Mama said, the parts of the story and the characters talking to each other and the humor and stuff and building up these characters' personalities and stuff to the audience. They cut it all out because majority of the time everyone's fighting and beating each other up, and it's very violent majority of the time. Majority of the movie is just them going to one place, fighting a bunch of guys. Go to another place, fight a bunch of guys. Takamichi, go fight a bunch of guys. Someone gets stabbed, fight a bunch of guys. And that's like another hour of this film is just them constantly fighting. And all I could think was, someone must have just liked the fighting on this movie, or that's all they thought Tokyo Avengers was, just battles constantly to the point where it started to get boring because every 5 minutes they were fighting somebody.
Well, the two responsible for that, the movie was directed by Tsutomu Hanabusa, and the screenplay was written by Izumi Takahashi. So those are the ones that you can find responsible for
You're
that.
fired.
The worst offense of all, besides
Everything.
Mikey and Draken, is that for over 3/4 of the film, the only 3 members of the Tokyo Manji gang that are in the movie are Takamichi, Mikey, and Draken.
Yes.
That's it. It wasn't until the last 15 minutes that they had other characters like Shifuyu and
Well, they had his friends there.
Mitsuya and Takebana show up. The rest of them, Naoto wasn't even in the movie.
No.
It's like, and he wasn't, of course, a part of the gang, but he should have been an intricate part of the movie. He wasn't.
Right. And yes, you're right. Him and a few other characters, they were cut and later put into the sequel with Bloody Halloween. They deemed them as unimportant to the story because that's not what they're adapting. So they cut them out and decided to leave them until the sequel to put them into the story. Because according to them, they didn't do anything for the plot, so they just cut them out for time.
Yeah.
It wasn't necessary for them to be in there. They didn't do much. They didn't impact the story, so they cut them out and wait till Bloody Halloween to put them back in as if they were new characters.
Yeah.
And that was like a really bizarre decision to make. Because Ma kept saying there's a bunch of people missing.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, they weren't important until next movie.
That being said, the actors aren't bad actors.
True.
You definitely have to say that. Performing the roles as they were given, the way they were given, the acting is good.
Right. And they did their own stunts when
Yes,
they had to. It wasn't
absolutely.
stunt doubles.
So we want to put that in because we don't want you to think that it's because the acting and performances were not good. Not true.
Right.
They were good. It's just these weren't the characters. These weren't the lines. These weren't motorcycles. These weren't the people. These weren't the personalities. The majority of the gang is not there. We say give this movie a pass. Watch the anime instead. Season 1 is fantastic. Season 2 and 3, they do stick to the manga. However, for me, the manga is a much better read for those events than watching the anime.
Yes.
Quickly, the cast. Takumi Kitamura as Takamichi.
Oh, that's funny, actually.
Mio Imada as Hinata. Yuki Yamada as Ken Ryuji, or Draken, my boy. Ryo Yoshizawa as Mikey, my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
Shotaro Mamiya as Kisaki. Nobuyuki Suzuki as Kiyomasa.
Mm-hmm.
Gordon Maeda as Mitsuya. Yosuke Sugano as Naoto. Hiroya Shimizu as Hanma. And I couldn't believe Hanma is in here.
Right,
And
he got
Hato
in.
Isumura as Sendo.
Yeah, and that's the whole, parts of the cast until the sequel.
Yeah. So if you've seen Tokyo Revengers live action movie, the first one, let us know in the comments below. Did you love it? And if so, why? Did you hate it like we do? If so, why? Did you think it's just meh? Will you be planning on watching any more of these movies, or have you seen them all?
Right.
Let us know in the comments.
And if you haven't already, subscribe for updates and movie videos for your anime series, anime shows, and all things animation.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us and supporting us. As always,
You are special. Thank you so much for watching Rusk Entertainment.
And I'm Mom Entertainment.
Have a toontastic day.
Peace.
こんなとこで引けねえ東京リベンジャーズ
これは俺の人生のリベンジだ。